started. So, hello and welcome. Today we will look at some fix a bit the collisions. We only have a vertical collision and now we're going to make horizontal. For people who are first time joining, you can download it from GitHub. The address is down there. Also, I will make it so that if you go to GitHub, I can show you. So if you go to GitHub Game Dev Company, see if it loads. There we go. Then if you go, let's make a game. Here's all the code. And then to download, you can press release. And here you can download the files. So for every episode I make this, then you can go here and download. So even if you join in the middle, you can go here. You can download the source code for that episode or all up till that episode. So that's how you get to that stuff. And everything, like I said before, for new people, that everything I code here will be done live on stream. So I'm not doing any development outside of the stream. So you can follow everything, every step, every mistake, especially the mistakes that I do. So, then we can over time improve it. And if you have cool ideas on what we should implement, we can give it a try and see if it's fun. But yeah, so Donosaurus is asking what kind of game we're making. So right now it's going to be an action platformer, maybe with some role-playing elements as people wished for it. But it's kind of up to you guys also to influence. I have some kind of idea now to begin with, and but going forward, all the features is hopefully it's like ideas from the chat, ideas from basically any. I might do some polls, for example, what features, or people can submit through Twitter or Instagram or whatever you're using. Dinosaurs, why not? Right now we just have a ninja. So as you can see, we have a ninja, and if you press play, it can show you what we got. So I'm developing for the controller. Oh, wrong window. So I'm developing for the controller, but if you want to do keyboard, I can create some examples how to do that too. So right now he can just run left and right, and he can jump. So not much. And right now there's no horizontal collision, which might be what we want, but maybe in the first version we will have still him. But we might want to create some kind of platform. So right now when you jump here, he kind of gets stuck in the wall. It's kind of like climbing. But yeah, this is what we got right now. All the art, all the awesome art is done also on the stream. Everything is done here, so you can follow. Yeah, so this is what we have right now, and we will soon be adding more. I can even show you, we did this really beautiful Photoshop document. As you can see, what we were planning then was just left and right, able to jump. So that is now done. So we can say like check. Next, what I was thinking is we need some kind of like the horizontal collision. So we need to detect, and for people who I kind of gave a challenge that if people want to, they can try to make it themselves. It's not too difficult to see if you understand the code I made. And then the other idea was that when you jump, you could kind of do a loop. So you would basically be able to do like somersaults and stuff like that in the air. So you could jump like this. And that's not done yet. So we will be working also on that. Maybe even like wall jumps. Let's see. Let's see how far we get. And yeah. So now we have this. Let's close this. So let's start looking at how to create the horizontal collision. So So I'm using GameMaker for people who didn't know. It's really good for 2D games, not so for 3D. 3D use Unity or something else. It's quite easy. But I will do GameMaker just because it's easier. So right now, as you see, our scripts folder doesn't really have anything. Everything is attached to the object Ninja. And let me turn this volume down. There we go. So object Ninja, and it has the events, create, step. Create was when the object is created. Step was for every step or for every frame. It reruns this code right here on the right. So right now it's kind of stored inside of the object Ninja, and we don't really want that. So here's all the code we've written thus far, which isn't much, but it's something. And then in create, I think we have created the first like default values for the variables. So vertical speed is set to 0 and movement speed is 5. Gravity is 0.981, which is kind of what it's in real life. And then just state idle. We haven't really made any kind of animation state machine yet. But I was thinking maybe starting off, maybe we should move all this code into these script files because it's a bit easier to navigate. Instead of having to kind of go here and press these events and clicking, we can just have them in the scripts file. And then later on we can then split them into several files. Like right now here we have everything from moving to jumping to all kinds of things, which we don't want in one file. So, and actually jumping is inside of kind of the collision, which kind of makes it shorter, but it's really confusing. So let's bit refactor today. So let's go to scripts, create script. For now, let's just call it, what would we do? Movement, maybe? Because most of it handles at least with movement. So we can save that. So now we have a script here called movement. Now, if we want, welcome Caviar, but to follow along and see, we're making an action platformer. So let's take all of this code. I selected it all. I'm taking it away, moving it to movement, and saving it. So now when we open this, all this code that used to be here is now here. So we moved it from this step execute piece of code into its own file. So what we're gonna do now, because now if I press play, we lose all those nice things we had. When we will move, it won't do anything. It won't even have gravity. It doesn't have anything now. So what we want to do is here, because this is the confusing part about GameMaker. So every file is a function. If you have any programming experience, it's quite clear. But if you're new to programming, it just means that you can write the file name and then you put parentheses. So this will now execute this. If I rename this to something else, I have to also go change here. It won't, if I put it in folders, like I can create a folder or a group as they call it. It's called character because we have that somewhere else. We can move it here and it doesn't affect, but the file name needs to match. And there can be only one file name like called this. So usually some people write like a script or something in the beginning, but I'm a programmer, so I like my code to look nice. So I just use movement. And now if we go press play, let's see if it works. It might not. Like I said, I haven't prepared anything, and now it's back to working again. So what's happening, just to iterate, is I create an object, I put it in the folder characters, his name is Ninja. We have two events. There's more events than just those, like if a key is pressed, if something. We're just using the create and step right now. the step is it executes every frame. So a bit like video, if you think it has frames, that's why I'm moving on the screen right now. So every time that happens, this code is also run. And then when I open it, it has the movement. So now I'm calling movement. And how do I know it's called movement? Because I called the file movement. You just have to, it's confusing. So if I now write here something else, hello, this won't work because I don't have a file called hello. Of course, if I create a file at hello, then it would run whatever is inside of that file. I'll remove it so we don't get any errors. Here's now the whole script we have inside of movement, and it does actually a bit more than movement. It has like gravity in it. It has, this is the collision vertical, and then here it's applying all these horizontal and vertical speeds. It's a bit messy, but I think let's not start changing too much, because I think for you guys following, it's easier if it's all in one place. But at some point, I will do the proper thing, which is to kind of move all these pieces. Like this has something to do with the animation. This has to do with flipping the image. Everything should be in kind of its own file. So you might be asking why. Why is this so important? It's important to move these to its own files because imagine you're looking at this game in 1 year. You won't remember what was this for, what was that for. And then when you have a bug or something goes wrong, it's really hard to find. So it's much better to kind of have files. And they just said, oh, the problem is with movement. I most probably have to open the movement file. And also, when they are their own files, so let's say we have object dinosaur, which was here a suggestion. So if you have a dinosaur, which we can create, by the way, you can also use this movement script for that. And you might want to only use part of it. Like maybe instead of here, we are controlling it with the gamepad. So we are taking the movement speed, which is the default movement, times whatever the gamepad, this joystick axis is doing. Sup, Flow Cobble, welcome. We're continuing. Lost my thought. Just give me a moment. Yeah, so let's say you want to move it with something else than this. Like let's say it has an AI that it moves left and right. Then you can input, for example, your AI logic, but you can keep everything else the same. So you don't have to recode everything. Like a good way of knowing that you should put them in separate files is when you copy paste a lot. Like if I do this all the time, copy paste, and now we get 6 times this. Or if you go to another object, like you go to your dinosaur object, for example, and you copy paste, I'll take all of this and put it under dinosaur, then you know that you should make it so that you can reuse the code. Caviar here has a comment that commenting is also useful. That's true. It's good to comment your code. We haven't done that yet, which is actually something I could do right now. So for example, commenting happens like this. So commenting is just you do / and then you can write something. It just it's a way of writing some kind of comments on what the code does. It doesn't execute anything, so I can write whatever I want here. I can put weird characters here that most people don't understand, and it won't break my game. If you want to write a wrong comment, there's also another style that looks like this. They're doing both the same thing. They're just if you want multi-line or if you want single line. So if you want to, you can also do it like this. So these are all just different ways. So let's put a comment here. So what was this doing? It was, let's write a short comment. Take left joystick from gamepad and apply it to horizontal speed. So then we have what's this? This is animation, something to do. We're just flipping depending if he's standing still or not. Sorry, not flipping, we're switching. So this is switching animation depending if character is moving. Flip animation depending on, sorry for the keyboard, it's probably really annoying. Flip animation depending on direction of movement. This which we add in the last second, and it's not really beautiful. We can make it nicer. Here we actually say apply gravity if terminal velocity. What? Velocity? Correct me, it might be C. Velocity. Oh, I don't care. Just tell me in the chat. You can Google it for me. Terminal velocity has been reached. Here. So this is vertical collision. Let's just write short. Apply movement to X and Y. So now already, if you would be joining us now, you can already see a bit what each piece of code does. So yes, commenting is really good. Caviar is here saying he's an old C++ coder and been using GameMaker to get back into coding. GameMaker is really good if you just want to get back and if you don't want to get too serious. It's the difference between C++ and the GameMaker language is that GameMaker language is not really, it's kind of like if you want to get serious in programming, like not programming outside of GameMaker, it's good to get started with GameMaker, but then in length it kind of teaches you a bit bad stuff that if you want to become a professional coder at a later point, you have to maybe relearn some things. But I don't think that's it doesn't block you. Like, it's good if you feel like this is a good language, that you understand it instantly and you're getting into coding. That's the most important, not to learn all these details. But yeah, and I'm trying to follow kind of semi-good principles. I don't want to spend too much time because it's boring to watching me write comments. But I think, for example, in this case, it's good because now you can see kind of what's happening. You can follow the flow. And also helps me. Sometimes I don't remember. So now let's look at the horizontal collision. And what we can do here is, so this is vertical, so it's all on the y-axis. So to make horizontal collision in a simple way is we can just copy paste, reuse this. And then again, we're using place meeting. So we're checking in advance before it moves. Here we're moving, applying movement. So before it moves, we're checking if there is something in our way. So now instead of checking in y-axis, we're checking in x-axis. So we can just move this here. And then we're actually looking at horizontal speed. Whoop. No, I mistyped something. I probably did autocomplete. So now we're checking horizontal speed and we're just checking object grass block. We can change this in the future so it has a list of objects. So if place meeting in horizontal is colliding with grass block, then do this part of the code. Excuse me, too much water. So now what happens is, okay, if it is colliding, we don't just want to say like, okay, then don't move. Like we could, like last time we demoed, we could just do, so this is the jump code. We don't want jumping in horizontal, except if you want horizontal jumping. horizontal speed set to 0. So we could just do this, but then again, like we went through last time, so for the new people, you can check last time's video, but for in-depth explanation. But if you just do this, he might be hovering or just slightly off like the wall before when he stops, because this is just checking is there something there. So, and it's just checking with the movement speed, which might be a large distance, so it's very far off. What we want to do is okay, it says yes, there is something in the way. If you're moving forward with this speed, you're going to collide. Then like here, we want to copy paste that again. This is again bad practice because we're copy pasting, and for those plus points for people who notice that, but for just keeping it for today short, because we want to move on other things, sometimes it's good to also do it a fast revision. So anyway, so if it's something is colliding and now in horizontally, we want to then after that, if that's true, we want to execute that it checks every pixel up until it meets, so that it moves solid flush on the wall. There is other ways of doing these things, but this is the concept I'm going with for now. So we are changing that to horizontal speed. Sine again was the function that if it's minus, it becomes -1. If it's plus, it becomes +1. If it's 0, it becomes 0. So no matter what, those are the only three values added. Even if this value is like -5 million, it will just be 1. So it will always be 1. So we get the direction, and then we add on the x, and we add the horizontal speed. So this is horizontal now. Just checking if there's anything here that would crash, but if it crashes, we'll know in a second. So again, I'm showing you all the mistakes I'm gonna make, because I also think that it's valuable to learn how to find your mistakes. So I can prepare all of these sessions and create perfect code, just copy paste, look on the other screen, I have all the code, but now I'm not doing that. So now we have as you can see, I hit the wall. Now I can't go inside of those anymore. And then if I jump off, now I'm falling into eternity. So that worked. Hi Bo 2015, welcome to the chat. Caviar here is showing what he did. So he's checking per pixel. So what we are doing here is we're always checking with the vertical speed, because it becomes a bit cheaper. Here, if our vertical speed or horizontal speed, if it moves 8 pixels, you can check just 8 pixels ahead with place meeting if something is there, and then only then, so it can, if it goes really far, then it executes this where okay, there is something there. Then move it up close. There is a bug that if you're moving in speeds of light, it will go through objects. And then the kind of code where you're checking every pixel up until the movement is good. Oh, it's when shift is used. But yeah, and remember, this is not the only way. This is not the correct way. This is not the wrong way. This is not the right way. It's one way. It's actually what Sean Spalding is also using in his tutorials. I find it to be good enough for us and for this point, and we can make it more and more advanced as we go and recode it. I think important when you're especially making games, if you're making a DVD web shop or something, it's better to try to write as well as you can in the beginning. But when making games, the hardest part of your game is going to make the game not suck. And for example, how good the code doing this is not gonna, make your game suck more or less, at least in the beginning, until it becomes an issue. So in the beginning, if you can just get something fast like we have here, I did this as fast as possible while streaming. I can. It's better to just focus on getting it there so we can see what is this game. Is it fun? Is it something that anybody would play? Now we have this, and of course, every time you have a possibility, you should try to rework your code as you go. So now what we wanted was, so now we have horizontal collision, we have vertical collision, make space there, we have some commenting. What I thought about next was that we should do this source code Photoshop. So let's do the somersaulting, like basically just rotating in the air. And how I want to make it is that sorry, Caviar, your message is not unique. Oh, if you copy paste same code twice, like if you keep posting the same thing, it will not allow that right now in the chat. If it's changed, then it should be. But if you have the code, you could try to put it in paste bin or something like that. I can take a look. So when we jump, we want, so when we are in the air, yeah, it's in, it's still beta, the 3R9K mode. We can remove it if it becomes a problem. So ignore Nightbot. I will give him, because this is okay. So well, we can actually put it on the screen. So this is what he did. So as you can see, this is already one thing that it's good to work on, is the readability. Of course, the good that there's comments that we know this is checking up, this is checking down. So if place is free, what he's doing here is if he's using a place free. So again, a good coder, if you don't know what it is, you go Game Maker, you Google, because Google is good. That way we get the exact definition of what it does. So you can use this function check, see if coins would collide with any instance flagged as solid in your game. So this is used if you use the solid flag. I'm not using this because the other way we have a bit more control, but this is not a bad way. Then if it is free, then Y can go down. So you move the 1 down, and then check if the key shift key is pressed and also place is free, -5, then -5. So what we're doing differently is, like, now because you have of course you're doing now differently. So you're checking like it would be here, up, down, left. So one thing, for example, to make the code a bit better would be that you will never move both up and down, so you could make it one variable like what we're doing here. Even if it's keyboard, we could just have horizontal speed +1 or -1, or vertical, or call it whatever you want. And that way you can not remove half that code. And yes, plus is down, because in Game Maker plus is down and minus is up, which is something to get used to. But yeah, there's nothing wrong in if you find another way of doing the same thing, that's as you should do it. Like, you just go and Google it, and there you will find like 30 different ways of doing the same things. And if you're new to coding, there's nothing wrong in any of those ways. Exactly. You're using the events. I'm just using the step. Ah, okay. Yeah, it's. But even then, if you are, what you can do also is just check. There is the check, just like we have here, gamepad access value. There is a if where you can check if up or down has been pressed. We can even look it up. So you could actually use the step function instead of here the add event. You're probably using key press or key release. And then you can here assign like shift up, left, right, down. What we're doing is a bit more, I don't want to say advanced, it's just different way. We're using here the code and then we're executing the code, which makes then here we are able to do all of these at the same time. Ah, okay. What are the events you then have attached it to? Or have you just made it so that you have it several for each thing a separate file? Yeah, so the keyboard event. Yeah, and that's a good way of doing it too. We haven't really worked with slanted walls. We don't yet know if we're gonna do that yet. Then you would just, like you have it there, you would just look up, or like you would check if something is available down underneath. If you want, if you have a specific problem, there's actually Sean Spalding has really good tutorials on YouTube. You can also check him out. He makes a good tutorial. I think he has something with tracking ammo and weapon count. And Faint, welcome to the chat. So what we just did also, which is different, is that so we moved all this code outside, so we have script objects, so it's easier to code. But so what we're gonna do now is, if we move forward, so we want to make actually him jump and roll. So let's start with creating the art. So we have now the idle animation, which is basically just one frame. We have an extra limping animation that we mistake made, and then we have the running animation where you can see he's running. So now we want to make it, what would it look like when it's in the air? So, and I was thinking he would somersault, so we could, what we would do then is we can copy, for example, the idle duplicate, and let's call it sprite ninja roll or something. We might reuse it for other stuff too. And then let's go into the file. So here's our little character. So let's just make a version where he's kind of rolled down like this. So let's move his head up. Actually, we can just move all of him up a bit, so we can get the different. So we want his head to be a bit different now. So let's edit it. So here what I'm just doing is, let's take this skin color. So again, I'm not an artist. I'm just doing this as fast as I can to kind of create some kind of version. Actually, I'll just remove all this. I don't really need it. So let's just create kind of, wrong color. We can actually put the skin on the right trigger and left. So if you press left or right, it assigns different colors. Let's just use the pen tool and kind of sketch it out. So he will be like bundled up. So we want maybe him to have kind of his hands up protecting his face. Basically he just looks like a ball. So that would be his feet. Actually we can just make a ball and then add the shading, which will then tell us a bit more what limb is. So let's pick a little bit lighter gray. So that would be somewhere the feet or the knees. And his hands up there. And then he should have his belt also, which was some kind of dark red. It's kind of coming from here. Maybe some of it is underneath his clothes, and let's make like a thing here. Maybe we can use also a bit darker color to fade it out. Remove some of the, change the head shape slightly maybe. So let's see. Again, it's good to kind of look at what you yourself look like. Okay, of course he's not doesn't look like me at all, but oops, okay, yeah, the mic is on. You can still kind of figure out where things should go. Let's just make him black here. Again, sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't. So now we have some kind of thing, and then we just maybe center him like that. And we're done. So now we have that. Let's see, it's centered. And now he's centered and it looks quite okay. So now we want to see if, so first off, what we need to figure out is we want to see if is he on the ground. So if actually this is true, then he's probably on the ground. So what we can do is we can go again. So we again had the where does it go? Yes, save. Let's see, Object Ninja, please open. Oh, other monitor, sorry. So we go to the create. We should maybe have something like grounded false. So when the game starts, it's not grounded. And then when we run this, let's try it this way. If he's on the ground, then grounded is true. And actually, we could even check it every time. So we don't have it here, which is when the game's object is created, but we actually make it reset it every time. So now it should work, but you never know. Also, we could maybe then reuse this. So this changes the animation, so we have it up here. So let's move it down after we know if he's grounded or not. Maybe just before we apply it. So if horizontal speed is not 0, then running, and then that. So now we're making a bit of spaghetti code, but again, we're just getting things a bit more, just getting it so we get it. We're just doing it so that we can see if it works or not. So if not grounded, so he wouldn't be grounded, then, and right now we don't care about the sprite running because we're not going to do that. Sprite roll. Oh, what was it called? Ninja roll, sorry. Turns red, so it should be running. So if he's not grounded, so in air, he will always go to this roll. Else if his speed is something and he is grounded, then do running, and the last one idle. So let's see if it just works. Like, this is what coding is. So it's a lot of guessing all the time and hoping. So when he was in the air now, he goes into that frame. But he now looks like a jumping toad. Not really what we wanted. But now, it seems like I can't move left and right. Faint59 is asking, is there an advantage of writing grounded like this or like this? Good question. There really isn't any difference. This can sometimes be easier if you, for example, there's cases where you want to do 3 equals. I don't think GML even supports that. It actually just, it's shorter, and also this is just shorter. And the thing is that because I use it, for example, here, I could also write this here, like, I don't know, it's a matter of preference. Both work equally well. There is some differences, or not differences, there's some cases where you really want to use the one versus the other, but no, there really isn't. If it's easier for you to read like this, then write it like this. If it's easier for you to read with this, with the not sign, then do that. Trying to think, is there any other difference? I don't think so. So now we had a problem of actually he didn't move horizontally anymore, which was interesting. Let's see it again. So now he seems to, but he does move when I'm in the air. Seems like, did I change something in the code here while I was playing around? Let's see. Sometimes you break something. Still have not while equal horizontal speed 0. I don't think this should really affect it, but we can check. So now we have a bug. This is a bug where you have some kind of logical error because it's not really. Yeah, so it has something to do with that, which is interesting. So when we do, if not grounded, it's just touching the sprite index, which is interesting. So now if you run it, then when I press left and right, it actually doesn't move anymore, which is interesting. Let's see. Let's move it up. Very interesting. So now it does change these, but it doesn't move. Did we have a collider on the idle? Everything looks here, okay. Oh, sorry, not idle. Roll. Yeah, but maybe we should actually. We actually might want to move him down just in case. Yeah, so let's edit this because we could also move the collider the object, but let's see if this makes a difference. Just Then again, we don't want it because we want the pivot to be in the middle of this animation. Let's see. Let's figure this out. So this is now like this. I wonder if we put it in manual mode, and from bottom we do 0. Whoop. That was 25. So this would be then 32. Let's see if we make the collider. This is not something you should do, but let's see if... Let's try to figure out. Sometimes you have to do weird things. So now it is working. So it's because we're moving the pivot and he becomes inside of the ground. Yeah. So again, sometimes you just have to try it out to know. So my guess was right. Why I did that was what happened was that this was up in the air. So when they hit the ground, then he actually, because his pivot is still on the same point, the collider expanded into the ground. So he was checking the collision too late in a way for him. So you would have to do this, or then we would have to move him up. So there is a way where if you had a bit better collision code, where if this collision code, like if you're in the ground, you're in the ground. There's nothing you can do about it. But with better collision code, it would actually check that, oh, he is in the ground and he's not supposed to be, and then we would move him out of the ground, depending on what is the shortest direction. But this is good enough for us now, because we're not shipping this tomorrow yet to the mass markets. So, oh, look, we can climb. Also walls, which we should fix. Anyway, so at least now it's working so properly, where we can still run and he turns into a ball when he's in the air. But it doesn't look really good. Actually, his eye vanishes too. Let's draw the eye in there. We don't want no eyeless ninja. Come on, come on. Oh, he had brown eyes, I think. Let's draw it. No, don't write it. That looks weird. Let's just put it somewhere here. No, did he have a too high eye? I can't remember anymore. Where was his eye? Let's see. Edit sprite. Oh, it was like that. Okay. So go back to roll. Come on, roll. There we go. Edit sprite. Yeah, this is not at all what we wanted. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Good enough. Save all this crap, and let's see. Again, starting in the wrong window. Let's see here. Yeah, now he has an eye. Does it jump forward a bit? Maybe, but good enough. At least he's not eyeless now. So now also, what I want to do is rotate it. Now, you can either rotate the object or the image, and I was thinking we could rotate the image. That way we won't have that same mask problem of colliders. So we want to rotate the image, the sprite, and it probably should happen. It should actually replace this horizontal speed, or use that as how you rotate. So if I press left, the jump, it would rotate left, and if I press right, it would rotate right. And so we want to put we'll put here rotation speed equals 0. And then we actually we shouldn't really use this. Let's write a new thing here above. We could put the code there, but again, let's maybe do it after here. And again, we will refactor the spaghetti hell at some point. So rotate picture, and now again, as a proper coder does, you go to Google, and we go Game Maker, rotate image angle. It can be that this needs to happen in the draw. Hi Flowcobble, welcome back. You were in YouTube for a sec, now I guess you switched to Twitch. It could be, I'm not sure, but it can be that this needs to be in the draw event to rotate it. But let's see. It might not be. Let's see if it says something here. This value sets the angle rotation of the sprite and is measured in degrees, with the right being 0 and up being 90. Left being set the variable to 0 to reset the sprite to also define. Please note that the changes. The instance should have either no draw event. Okay, so I think it needs to be in draw. So here we have an example of how you can make it point towards like the mouse position, but that's not what we want. We want it to be able to be with this left, so when you're in the air it would rotate by left or right. So let's see then. So actually we won't do it here, but we will actually set the rotation speed. So the rotation speed, where did we go? Here we go. So when not grounded, so we can do if, again, not grounded. It's the same one as above. Move this up a bit so you can see. If not grounded, then, and else. So else we will just put rotation speed to 0 again, because we're grounded. And here we will do rotation speed, let's do plus equals horizontal speed. So plus equals is just a shorthand for rotation speed that was previous plus this. So it adds it on top of whatever is inside. But this is again saving a couple of characters and a bit easier to read after you understand what it does. So rotation speed, we're adding the horizontal speed to the rotation speed. And horizontal speed was attached to this, so let's see. Now, because we are not, I don't think we can allow to do the image rotation here. We can try it, of course, then this is how you will know. So open again the documentation. So we had image angle. So image angle needed to be degrees, but let's just feed it some stuff and see what happens. So image angle equals rotation speed. And this is what you need to do as a program. You just need to feed it. You do things to break it, and then you understand something better once you've done it once. So let's see. Oh, it actually does it here, but it does it the wrong way. Not what we want. So I was wrong. So this is why you try it, because then you know. So now instead of adding, I'm actually doing the reverse. I just reverted. I'm subtracting it on top of whatever is there. Just a quick reversal. See? So now he looks like he's falling over in the air. Let's see. This pivot was still in the center. So that's okay. Let's just make it 10 times faster or something. Whoa! He's getting somewhere. Now, when I stop, as you see, he stops very abruptly. And I don't want that. I want it to kind of have kind of all the time can reduce slowly. So what we can do is actually, whoop, times 10. So times 10 was a bit much. We can put some kind of value on it. And then what we can do is add the, let's see what it looks like if we did this. Rotation speed times 0.9. So we add a bit on top of that, that's like from the previous. So the previous speed, but not 100%. Oh, of course it needs to be. So we add a bit of this, but it doesn't like it. We're not. Let's see. Go back to this version. Oh. What happened? Oh, there's a stupid parentheses there that we didn't want. Small mistakes. And this is more the speed, maybe. Maybe. Maybe also the jump is a bit low. So jump speed 15. Gives us a bit more jump. Yeah, this is more like. And we should also make it so that he doesn't always jump the same height. So you could press longer for a shorter period of time to kind of have adjust the height of the jump. But this is already looking much more interesting than what we had previously. I don't know, do we need it to... I'm trying to think, do we need it to... You can go back and forth. He's a magician. All right, enough playing around. So, actually, what we would do is speed. So what if we do? Let's try it this way. Sorry, I'm just trying different things to see what would be. So let's take the difference from Facebook notifications. I have to turn those off. Minus, and then we take the rotation speed. Let's just take 0.9. So the question is, how would you make the rotations be relative to the height you jump so that it was complete on rotation in the right amount of time he was airborne? It's a bit difficult because he could land early. Like if he lands on something up high, he would land early. But what you can instead do to look it cool is that if we don't like how he suddenly just flips upright, we could add a small animation there that every time he lands, it plays an animation where he like does a handstand and flips up. That would be one way to do it. That way it doesn't matter. And then if he lands on its side, he would put his hands out. So you could create like some animations to take that. But like, for example, the time he's in the air, whoop, a bit buggy. Like a torpedo. Kind of looks cool though. Maybe we'll use that for something later on. And that's also a good rule. If you see something that looks kind of interesting, I think he's accelerating. So if you look something's cool, I was saying, okay, he's stuck in the ground again. So yeah, so when he would land in this jump, and then even if I did a lower jump, and when he would land here could be done, but then when you're jumping up on this, he would land early, so it would be kind of hard to do. But what you would do instead in games is that you hide the fact that it's doing that by putting for example, an animation there, so that when he jumps, he would then, and then when it's about to hit, instead of just correcting it like it does now, it would actually do an animation of him of some kind where he's like lands on his hands, like a handstand or something, and then flips off of that forward. We're not gonna do that right now. That's a bit of animation work to do that, but that's probably how you would solve it in most gaming companies, that you would just do a kind of a patch over that part. So yeah, this wasn't that nice. Actually, I want to see something. Let's, again, kind of experimenting here. So, and this is what you do. Again, you need to experiment. Let's see. What does this do? No, it doesn't rotate at all. I did do the plus equals. Interesting. Rotation speed. I think even for now, even the version where he's just 10 was too much, if I remember correctly. Even this is a bit fast. So I also want to not correct his rotation. It shouldn't feel like an animation. I want the player to feel like he has control of the rotation, where he can adjust how he's facing, is because we can then do aerial combat. Where he could be fighting in the air and you could change rotation of the character in the mid-air, so you could be punching downward or upward. That's a good speed probably. So now if I jump but don't press anything, we could now put a thing where if you're not actually pressing, no, that would actually not be good for what. Yeah, he still seems to sometimes go into the ground like now, which has to do with the collision mask, and we can correct that later on. Right now, our collision code is not good enough to detect that. And again, just like I said, if you look at my Let's Analyze, where I look at Rogue Legacy, programmer, sometimes you just sit there and look at how something looks for like a while. You're just jumping, and you can also find out bugs. So it's kind of doing Q&A, quality assurance at the same time. So we already noticed one bug, which is where he lands on the ground and goes into the ground. And then the other one, which I also, is that we should add a bit of like now he stops abruptly. Then again, I don't know if that's a problem. So, so now actually we're doing the rotation speed exactly to the image angle. So I wonder if we take the image angle and add it, actually do a plus equals, that which should make it accelerate, if I'm not wrong, instead of setting it to the, yeah, and now of course, it's actually kind of cool. Oh, I'm dying. Oh boy. All right. Yeah, now of course it doesn't reset it because here we were setting to 0, but we weren't actually putting the image angle to 0. But now of course it's too fast even, so let's try it with a bit less. So now I don't know which one is actually better. Like this is of course worse now, it's too fast. It should almost be like slower, so let's say 0.2. Let's see now what happens. So now he gets a bit faster as he... let's see. It's not saying that it would have dropped any frames. I hope everybody's following still. I haven't really done anything critical in that moment. I've just been playing around. So now also it continues after I stop, which I don't want. So I wanted actually to rotation speed to be slowly going to 0. So we could even do a thing where if horizontal speed is 0, then rotation speed is times equals, you can use the same gravity. So you can see here the gravity. So it's slowly I don't like this. It sometimes might be more fancy, but sometimes if it's not sometimes something that's more fancy is not necessarily better. I do think that the previous, like I know we could rework this and make it, I can get this to work, but sometimes if you have something that works, there is no point in, so we needed to take about, 7 times. So, sorry. Sometimes when something is already working quite well, I mean, yeah, you can add a bit of slow motion here and there, but I don't know if it actually adds anything. This is now too fast. You have no control. Let's see, times 3 I think is what I had. Okay, Feign is also getting buffering. Let's see. At least what Twitch is telling me, it should be okay. Let's see if it could be the... Let me just double check. Everything is okay here. Is it still doing it? At least the connection to... Twitch seems okay, but... Is anybody else buffering? Just let me know. Let me check myself. I'll mute it so you don't get an echo. Seems okay here. I don't know. Tell me if you have still some buffering. I can see I can restart the stream too if everybody's experiencing it. Yeah, I was saying sometimes the simple way is this is better speed. So we should really at some point rework that the collision system, because right now you're getting stuck, which is because we're redoing the collider because you sometimes at edge. One actually simple way we could actually fix it for now, which is not a good fix. So I think if you do full image, because then it doesn't matter what rotation he is. Or actually it should be circle maybe even. He might, now I don't think he shouldn't get stuck, but it'll still not work well. Oh, and there even he's hitting now the corners there. Let's see what happens if we use precise. I mean, again, it should actually then again do the same problem. So we will have to rework the collision at some point, but this is working well enough for now. Let's see what happens if I... Yeah. Let's look. Sprite roll, modify mask. Maybe the manual still was better where... Let's go back to mathematic value, bottom 32. Yeah, we could do an ellipse too, but we could of course rework the collision, but I don't want to go into too advanced collision right now. It's nice that we have something very simple set up. And we can rework it to more advanced as we go. So now he can jump, he can rotate, he can get stuck in the ground every so often. So also here we're actually just applying the jump speed when he's on the ground. We should also make it so that if you keep pressing the button for a bit longer, he would jump a bit higher. Something actually I think Mario, as one of the first games, did was you had kind of several variable jump heights. And you could jump depending on how hard long you pressed your jump. Okay, I can restart the stream and see if that helps. Just give me a sec, guys. Just a sec. Seems like Twitch is a bit slow in itself. Okay, let's try it now. Stop stream.